Story and writing. It almost goes without saying, but this film's core premise taps directly into a widower's most haunting nightmare, being forced to choose between the love you built a life with and the love you lost too soon. Despite the heaviness of that idea, the story approaches it with warmth, sincerity, and surprising humor. Eternity centers on a simple but emotionally loaded hook. In an afterlife where souls have 1 week to decide where to spend eternity, Joan must choose between the man she spent decades married to and her first love, who died young and has patiently waited for her for 67 years. The plot structure unfolds predictably, not in a way that dulls the experience. Instead, the film's brisk pacing and genuine dialogue between the three leads keep it engaging. The script widely avoids unnecessary backstory or prolonged setup. It brings us quickly into this eternity selection center, giving the characters space to develop, breathe, and fully take in their new surroundings. This helps the audience learn, laugh, and hurt alongside them as they sift through the inevitable choice that may bring with a lifetime of loss, love, resentment, the occasional what ifs. While love triangles are far from new territory, the film's afterlife takes a unique approach that heightens the emotional stakes. Choosing between two people is one thing. Choosing where your soul will reside forever is something else entirely. Because the characters are written well, with care, you end up rooting for all three of them in different ways, each representing a different version of happiness, regret, personal truth, and choice of eternity. Though marketed as a rom-com, the film balances its comedic sensibilities with earnest emotional beats. There are several moments where the film could have sagged or fallen into cliche, but it maintains focus and charm, never losing much momentum or my attention, concluding in an ending that, from my point of view, stuck the landing. Performance and characters. Elizabeth Olsen puts in a solid performance as Joan. Joan is torn between the life she lived and the life that she might have had, and Olsen's ability to portray conflict through subtle glances and emotional hesitation makes the character feel authentic, as we are also made to reflect on our own choices if we were to be put in the same situation. Ultimately, her decisions are backed by her performance, and her big decision makes sense given how she responds and grows throughout the film. Callum Turner's Luke easily fits the mold of the perfect dream guy. Luke's charm is undeniable, but Turner ensures we also see glimpses of imperfection, longing beneath his calm exterior, especially as he realizes eternity with Joan might not be as guaranteed as he initially thought. Enter Miles Teller's Larry. That is the current husband who is positioned as Luke's opposite in almost every way. He's ordinary, grounded, sometimes awkward, and portrayed as the average husband. Teller plays him with relatable softness, emphasizing that love isn't always grand or cinematic. Sometimes it's steady, flawed, and built slowly over years. The contrast between Larry and Luke gives the film its strongest emotional push, and both actors share compelling chemistry with Joan. The supporting characters offer pockets of humor and guidance, but ultimately they're more functional than memorable. They help move the plot along and occasionally lighten the mood, though the emotional core remains firmly with the central trio. Direction and cinematography. The filmmakers have spoken about the scope of the world they wanted to build, and even on a modest budget, the director manages to carve out a visually distinctive afterlife that feels whimsical and inviting rather than cold or abstract. You can tell the director had a clear vision, wanting to show glimpses of the possibilities of different worlds and eternities that people can choose from, all while letting our imagination run wild on how those eternities will ultimately end up being. While the film doesn't look like a mega-budget fantasy, its charm lies in its simplicity. Soft lighting, warm color palettes, gorgeous mountain sceneries, and clever framing help sell the otherworldly setting. It feels imaginative yet grounded, and that balance keeps the emotional intimacy front and center, allowing us to fully immerse in eternity's many possibilities. Themes. At its core, eternity is driven by two deceptively simple questions. If you could choose your forever, what version of eternity would you pick? And are our relationships defined by the memories we treasure or the ones that remain unresolved? The film doesn't rush to answer either. Instead, it uses Joan's impossible choice to peel back the layers of what love actually means. The movie leans into the idea that love isn't just joy or comfort. It also encompasses pain, guilt, nostalgia, and the quiet moments of growth that accumulate over a lifetime. It challenges the notion that love is about constant happiness. Does loving someone mean prioritizing their joy above your own? And if your partner's happiness comes at the expense of your own fulfillment, is that still love or is that sacrifice? The film doesn't treat those questions as rhetorical. It lets them sit with the audience, uncomfortable and honest. Another central idea is the weight of emotional impact versus the weight of time. Joan must examine two very different chapters of her life, a long marriage filled with a shared history and a brief but deeply formative first love. Eternity asks whether the depth of connection comes from the duration or intensity, whether a lifelong partnership has more claim to her heart than a relationship that ended prematurely but shaped who we would later become. Ultimately, the film uses Joan's internal struggle to explore identity, longing, and the process of making peace with our choices. It pushes the viewers to consider how we measure love, how we define the one, and how the past continues to shape the versions of ourselves we carry into. Final thoughts. Overall, I had a genuinely enjoyable time with this film. It knows exactly what kind of movie it wants to be, an earnest, charming rom-com with a few twists along the way. It delivers humor, tenderness, and a few unexpected surprises without ever overstaying its welcome. If you're a fan of offbeat romantic stories with big emotions, clever hook, and a satisfying ending, I definitely recommend giving this one a watch. If you enjoy seeing Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, or even Callum Turner, then seeing this film is a definitive no-brainer. As always, thanks for tuning in on Film Sense with Brian. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below to let me know if you enjoyed this movie as much as I did. Until next time, this has been Film Sense with Brian, and I'll see you next time on the next movie review.